So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to build a scalable $5,000 or more coaching or consulting or service offer. I'm going to talk about how to present it, how to pitch it, how to actually form the offer in its infancy into its maturity and make it incredible for your clients. Talk about how to deliver for those clients, everything like that for completely free in this video today. Before we get started, if you want additional help from myself and my entire coaching team for completely free, no questions asked, I urge you to join our Facebook group using the link in the description because it is probably the best way to actually get added support instead of just looking at me on your screen and hoping that I drop some bomb that helps you grow your business. If you actually want real conversation, real questions answered, join that group. Anyway, let's get into the video today. So I've got the whiteboard up and I'm going to talk about, obviously, we have a offer called the Consulting Blueprint, which mirrors a lot of what I'm going to share with you today. It's no hidden agenda that it costs $5,000 and that our mastermind costs $25,000. In the mastermind, you can work with myself directly, have my entire team and support. And for $5,000, you get 12 months access to a group as well as my entire coaching team and some great content. And that's where most of the results that you see marketed on my channel here. A lot of these incredible people that are killing it, they actually, are in that $5,000 offer. So anyway, we've sold now 450 copies of this thing or more. So I know a thing or two about selling high ticket stuff and getting people incredible results when you do it. So let's talk about how I did that. So the first thing, and this is probably the most obvious, is what is a $5,000 problem that you can actively be solving in your niche or industry? $5,000 problem doesn't look like helping you lose weight necessarily. Maybe a $5,000 problem, it looks like helping you lose weight within 90 days without doing something that you don't love. So typically when you're selling something for this rate, the way that you kind of want to build the offer out and the way you want to position it is something like how to achieve X without Y using, Z, right? So in your case, it might be how to lose, 20 pounds without unnecessary fasting and dieting that, ruins your quality of life using intermittent fasting, right? Or how to, overcome your anxiety disorder in the next 2 years or a year or 6 months or whatever without, hours and hours and hours of therapy using, self-image psychology or who knows what, right? So you've got like a how. So how to achieve X within a time frame without a certain thing that people don't want to do using a mechanism, okay? And this is where you need to get extremely good at coaching on this mechanism. So in our program, for example, and I'm just going to use ourselves as an example, we've got a few mechanisms. We kind of take a holistic approach. We don't just have one, but some of the things we do teach are sales, offer creation, basics of organic marketing, team leadership, how to get good client results, how to actually coach your clients well, et cetera, et cetera. So we kind of take a holistic approach. We don't really have one mechanism. This is one area where I don't really follow what I teach because, to be honest, I believe that growing a business is extremely nuanced and you need a lot more support than just learning how to have good appointment setting strategy or something. So $5,000 problem. It's interesting. A lot of people think that, they'll say, Trey, I'm solving a $5,000 problem. What I do is easily worth $5,000. But the problem is you're not positioning it as such, okay? You want to alleviate the amount of desire or alleviate the amount of pain that somebody is going to experience as a byproduct of their investment and increase the amount of reward or speak to the level of desire that somebody would have when they're trying to start this journey of solving this problem, whatever it may be, okay? So, like, for example, a $5,000 offer doesn't have to be something that has a lot of pain. Sometimes it could be something that just has a lot of desire, right? For example, this could be like helping you, have a better sex life in your marriage or something, right? Maybe there's not a lot of pain. Maybe your sex life is decent enough, but it's not amazing. And so you want some help in making it even better. So there's kind of two ways of going about this. You can either alleviate pains or move people closer towards their desires. Unfortunately, though, human nature is as such that people don't often take action and move forward until they are experiencing pain to run away from. People more often run away from pain than they do towards desire. So if you want to make a lot of money, you should really have an offer that does both. It speaks to pains and also speaks to desires. You should be able to do both very well. So obviously this is like a very rudimentary way of viewing it. Less pain and, negative pain, positive desire, right? Very rudimentary way of viewing it. And you are going to have to take some time to think about what this means for your industry. What are some major pains? What are some things that keep them up at night? What are some things that, you know, they don't even share with their closest friends because they're that ashamed of them? What are some things that they have tried over and over and over again to solve, they just can't freaking solve? And what are some desires that they harbor secretly in their heart? What do they secretly want? What is the thing that if you can tell them, hey, I know that you want this, their ears are going to perk up and they're going to listen to you? What are those things? Can you identify them? And if you can't, that's probably why you haven't built a solid offer yet, okay? And I know I'm telling you what to do. I'm not necessarily telling you how to do it, but in my YouTube videos, there's only so much nuance I can provide. There's only so much information I can provide. So I'm doing my best to give you everything you need to do. But essentially, if you want to approach this from a philosophical vantage point or a psychological vantage point, just ask yourself, you know, am I really removing people's pains? Am I really moving them towards their deepest desires? If I'm doing these things, then probably the issue isn't my offer. Probably the issue is marketing or sales or something else, okay? So let's move on to the next point here. Before I get to that point, though, you might be asking, Trey, okay, so that's a good idea for how to build an offer. How do I actually know that I can get results for them? Well, this is where you yourself need to have done the thing that you're helping other people do, or you need to have helped other people do the thing that you're helping other people do. Or, last resort, you've learned from somebody that has done the thing, and you take their ideas and you give it to other people. A lot of the time, people sabotage themselves. They don't start their business because they think that they need to have the epitome of the perfect, you know, results when it comes to what they teach, right? Maybe they are a relationship coach and they secretly harbor the reality that their relationship isn't that great right now and there's a lot of work they need to do. Or they're a business coach and the reality is that their businesses have failed multiple times, they've had only a few successes, and those few successes pay for their failures. The reality is you only need to be one step ahead of somebody in order to solve their problem or add value to their life. Kind of humans work like this. Let me just explain it in this way. You know, as humans, we are always walking up a series of steps in our life, right? And if we notice that we are stuck at a certain step, right? Say we're stuck at step 3, whereas you've gotten to even just step 4 right here. This is you. This step might have just come pretty easy to you. This might just be something that just kind of came naturally, or you read the right book, or you had the right resource. Whatever this step is, depending on this person's belief system, their background, what they know about themselves, about the world around them, the worldview that they contain, the mental models they use to make major decisions, this third step might come really, really, really hard to them. You don't know that. Just because your experience was that it came from the third to the fourth step was easy, doesn't necessarily mean that that third to fourth step came easy for somebody else. So the reality is, by you assuming that you're not the expert, you're actually being kind of selfish, and this is the justification that I went through in my head to realize that, wait a sec, it's really kind of unethical for me to not be out there pitching and helping people move forward and get results in areas that have come either naturally to me or happen to have the right resources in order to get there. So this step 3 might not always come easy to people. Maybe this step 3 for your offer could look like, you know, if we're talking about, you know, the fat loss thing, it could look like, you know, adjusting your habits or your daily routine to fit the lifestyle that you want, or surrounding yourself with people who are healthy, or whatever that step 3 was that came naturally to you. You didn't even realize that you did it, or the person you're learning from, they didn't even realize that they did it. Whatever that step is, you need to go back and identify what that thing is, because I promise you, within this probably contains that $5,000 offer you're wanting to build, okay? So I just want to clarify that up, because I know I'm going to get a ton of questions about what makes me qualified. You're already qualified. So now it is on to delivery. So how do you actually help people go from step 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, whatever it may be? This is where you have the responsibility of building what I call, inside of our program, a client success timeline. You know, client success timeline, CST. And you should be able to identify on kind of a spectrum of actions or next steps forward where your client that maybe you're on the phone with, you're pitching the offer to, or you're currently working with, you're in their first few weeks of working with them, which step they are at. So let's say step A, or point A, is, you know, 20 to 50 pounds overweight. Let's say point B is having a healthy self-image, better body, better health, and they've lost the weight as a byproduct and as the major goal. So, okay, step 1 might be, you know, better habits. Step 2 might be surrounding yourself with better people. You know, you can come up with your own ethos here. I can't really speak to what that ethos would be for you, but you have the responsibility of figuring out what your client success timeline is. For example, in our program, the first thing that I look at is, does an offer currently exist for this person? If not, we're going to help them build the offer. Has the offer actually converted? If they do have an offer, has it converted? If it hasn't converted, then we take a look at their offer, look at their marketing or the sales process, figure out why it hasn't converted yet, give them direct input on how to make it convert, and then move from there. So we kind of take them linearly from point A, which is either no offer or they're a total business beginner or whatever, to point B, which is, $250,000 to $400,000 a year in total gross volume in sales, which is about anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 a year in profit, all expenses said, and we've helped a ton of people do that. So we walk people down each step, right? So let's say your weight loss, it could be, again, this is why you're the expert. I can't tell you what this would look like, but you just figure out what each step is, okay? And you start here, because if you don't know what needs to come after what, and you don't build a timeline and a next step process, then really you're kind of flying blind with your clients. And to be honest, at that point, they're just paying for like kind of pointless coaching hours with you. And those hours might not be very well used. And then you're going to feel a little bit of like an identity crisis of like, man, this guy paid me $5,000 for me to basically just hop on Zoom and just like say whatever I feel like saying, which is not valuable for anybody, including you. And this is where you get to get kind of creative, right? So you get to actually take time to figure out like, what do people really need who are here to get here? What are the major steps? And these can be hard steps. They don't have to be easy steps. You don't have to make it a swallowable pill. You can make it hard work that they have to do, but at least now they've paid money to have a clear path to getting to where they want to get. One of the few reasons why people buy coaching, and there's a few, after, over 2,000 sales calls on our own business, as well as tens of thousands for our clients, we've learned that one of the major reasons why people buy coaching or a program or something is just clarity of what they need to do next. A lot of people, they know generally where they want to get, but they don't really know exactly what they need to do between now and then. So just literally, if the first thing you give somebody is just that timeline of, hey, do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. And if you're already at step 4 and you've kind of done a little bit of step 7 and you kind of skipped step 2, you need to go back to step 2 and do it all the correct way and send them through a linear process so that they can then end up at that result. So this is where it takes you a bit of time. If you want to, set aside a weekend, set aside a week, set aside a month, however long you think you're going to need, depending on the level of complexity of how you serve your clients, and figure out what is that system and what is that process. You don't have to go so linear that you come up with like 50 steps. Preferably, it's somewhere between 5 and 15 steps. This way, you can keep it very structured and linear. And also, at first glance, when a client sees this thing, it makes sense to them and they're not overwhelmed by the information, and you can start walking them down each step, okay? So that's the first place you start. What's your client success timeline? Now let's talk about how to actually deliver on this timeline, how to actually get clients results. Okay, so now that you have a clear timeline from point A to, point B, and you've got steps in between, now let's talk about how to deliver these steps. So the way that I like to deliver consulting and coaching, the way that we teach our clients to deliver it, is to actually view these steps as almost railways for you to build a greater machine and system around them. So if you have less than 20 clients, you should still be doing one-to-one consulting. I think that that's the best thing you can do right now, because you're going to sharpen the sword, you're going to sharpen your saw of being able to deliver each of these, next steps, right? Moving them forward one step at a time into arriving at their end goal, whatever that may be. Hopefully it's clearly defined for your program and it's not just general help, okay? Once you've done that, once you've taken the time and you've put in the sweat equity and you've worked with clients one-to-one like I did, I worked with over probably 80 clients one-to-one, marketing clients, sales clients, tried a bunch of different industries and niches. A lot of you guys know my story, okay? But then I zeroed in on this industry as well as just marketing in general. And so I started to scale up, get a lot of clients. I was working with probably 30 one-to-ones. It didn't work, so I moved from one-to-one to group. And this is where you start to build almost a indoctrination system at the front in the form of group coaching. So like group sessions, maybe 3 times a week, 2 times a week, 1 time a week, however many daily. We had daily there for a while, and I think we still have daily instead of our program. And so you kind of hit them with each major bullet point that they need to understand, each of the major steps. And then as you cycle them into a more as they start to get results with these steps that you're giving them, the major steps, you cycle them into a more one-to-one environment where once they've reached certain milestones within your program, you can then give them more attention. Whether you sell them that attention or whether you just give it to them for free doesn't matter to me, right? But once they've reached a certain milestone, once they're at a certain point, you can then step in and say, hey, I want to help you go further, because it's these people that arrive at the extreme ends of the point B that then drive the marketing to fill the rest of your pipe and generate more sales so you can move more people from point A to point B. So you want to make sure that when somebody has some momentum, that there is support built on the back of that momentum for them to then move further down the line to reach that ultimate point B. Because to be honest, if somebody gets stuck right here, unfortunately, what are they going to do? Most of the time, they're going to go and find another program, another person to invest into to get them to that last step. And guess who gets to take credit for that last step? The person that they invested that other piece into, and then you lose. You really, honestly, a $5,000 sale doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. What matters is taking that person to the extreme end of the success that they desire and then enabling them to credit you directly, your investment into your program directly with that result, so you can then influence more people to make the same decision. And this is kind of how you deliver it. To get specific, I like I said, either a daily or a weekly group session, okay, where you have all of your clients on there. Once they reach a certain milestone, so you need to identify what is that milestone that you're willing to then reach out and offer more services, or even a greater, help from yourself, whatever that looks like, or maybe more attention from coaches. You reach out, you build a system and a process for doing so, and then you move people into a more intimate environment, whether it's one-to-one with yourself or even just smaller group sessions. And then out here as well as having group sessions, I would encourage you to have at least, 4 to 10 hours of just, course material that catches them up on the basics, so that you're not answering the same questions over and over and over again on these group calls. So you can see why I start with one-to-one. You can see why I have you build a client success timeline, because if you don't have a timeline of exactly what you're doing on those one-to-ones, you're just going to be wasting your time and their time. And then if you move to group, or you start building a course, or you start helping people further without having a client success timeline and without having helped people one-to-one first, the reality is you're not going to know what you're teaching. You're not going to understand what to do next for a client, and you're probably just going to get super confused about the whole process. Your client's going to get confused about the whole process, and nobody wins. So that is how to deliver great results to clients. So now I want to talk about a couple mental shifts that you need to make in order to accept the identity of a leader. I know probably you weren't really prepped for this, but to be honest, the mental is everything. Everything starts with your head. Everything that you get in life, everything you get in business starts with the thoughts that you secretly harbor in your deepest, heart, and everything stems from them. So if you secretly don't feel worthy of working with clients at this scale, then you're probably not going to achieve it. Okay, so mindset shift number one that I personally had to go through was the hero concept. I had to decide that I am a hero. I'm a hero of my life. I'm a hero of other people's lives. I can impact people. I can serve them. I can lead them. I can lead myself, serve myself, impact myself. So it starts with a self-focused leadership where you take yourself up, and then that expands out into being able to take others up as well. So if you have this victim mentality, if you have this concept of yourself as being the victim, you will not be able to lead other people. You have to move from victim to hero. So if you are a victim and you think of yourself as the victim of your circumstances, as if you are where you are today because of some outer force that got you here, or somebody else said something, or taxes, or whatever it is, the government or society, the problem is, if you think that way, other people will not follow or listen to you because you are not an innovator in your own thought process, and people are, they fundamentally can't trust you unless you are pioneering your own path. So you need to move into the mentality and view of yourself of being a hero of other people's lives, okay? The second one, and this is a really important one for me, I grew up as what I would call a nice guy. A nice guy, okay? And this probably speaks a little bit more to the men in the audience, but that's fine. I know most of my viewers are men. However, I certainly wasn't meant to be that way. It just ends up being that way, right? So I grew up kind of being a nice guy. I grew up thinking that imposing my will on somebody or influencing them towards what I want them to do is inherently selfish, and that if I influence people, that I am just basically fundamentally fueling my ego somehow. That's basically the message I got. If I succeed, it's just ego. If I influence people, it's just ego. I thought that in order to be truly humble, quote humble, I thought that meant basically sticking to my own guns and just, reserving myself for what maybe only meeting my needs. I don't really know what I thought, but I thought that maybe, for example, this showed up in sales, where when I was on sales calls, I wouldn't boldly say, you need to do this. This is what you need to do. I know it for a fact because you've told me these things. And if you really say that you want these things over here that you're saying that you want, you need to make this leap. You can either do it with us or with our help, and it'll take you 3 or 4 months, or you can continue to do it yourself and it'll take you 3, 4, 5 years, because let's be honest, you've been stuck here for a while. And having that bold approach to encouraging people to move forward. And it starts with getting rid of this nice guy syndrome and moving into kind of that hero mentality, because nice guys, they are passive. And this is women too. Like if you are a passive person, people will passively treat you passively, right? The way that you view yourself and the way that you handle yourself is often the response you're going to get from other people. So I had to get rid of this nice guy mentality, thinking that I can't get people to do what I know is best for them or what even I want them to do, because somehow that's selfish. I had to get rid of that concept because it just stopped serving me. And the last one, and probably one of the more important ones for me personally at the stage that I'm at, is feeling broke forever. You will be broke no matter how much money you make. The reason why this is a helpful mental frame to move into life with and business with is no matter how much money you make, you're always gonna be broke, because the money could go. Like literally, I am obsessed with the concept of like, $2-3 million liquid in the bank doesn't phase anymore. To me, it feels like money is just this game. It doesn't affect me, and I'm always pretty much gonna be the same person I am. It doesn't change who I am fundamentally. And to be frank, money, no matter how much you have, you could go broke so quickly. There's been billionaires that have lost it all. There are people who work 9-to-5 jobs that end up winning the lottery. It's just they're not that there's no rules to it, but you cannot see money as a big deal. You have to understand that no matter how much money you make, no matter how much is in your bank, you are broke. And another reason why this serves me is because if you grow your business to $20,000 a month, say, and you start to think, oh, wow, I'm really making it, then guess what you're going to do? You're going to plateau at that $20,000 a month point. You're not going to go further because you feel like you've made it. And if you feel like you've made it, you're going to plateau right there, because now you've reached some subliminal bar you had in your head of no longer being broke. So if instead of running from broke, I just decide I'm broke no matter what, then I will consistently be working on my business as if I am broke, which, if I'm honest with myself, the hardest I worked in my entire life was when I had like $400 in the bank, and I just said, screw this, I have to figure out a way to get wealthy. And now I realize, now that I'm becoming independently wealthy, that I am so broke. I look to my left and to my right, I see people way richer than me. People have gone way farther than me, way quicker than me, and I'm kind of a tiny little fish. And so if you have that mentality and you approach business and life with this level of humility, as never having made it, you will go much further. So I know this doesn't so much have to do with influencing other people, but it is one of those ways you can influence yourself to do greater things. You are always broke no matter what. So hopefully it's been a valuable video to you. If it has been, leave a comment, a supportive comment. I love reading them. I see every single one. I don't have like a VA doing that or anything. It's actually me responding, and love helping you guys. So be sure to do that. Besides that, once again, join our free Facebook group. It's a lot of fun hanging out in there with you guys, answering questions and adding value to you as a community. We've got some really cool people who watch us on YouTube, we have people join the Facebook group that run a $2 million a year business, and I just think it's really cool, and they're just there to help. And so if you want to be in that community, check it out. Other than that, subscribe, leave a supportive comment, tell me how much you appreciated the video if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next one.